we can start helping entrepreneurs have some fitness goals. Instead of focusing on all business metrics, it's like, why don't you start reversing that and focusing on your fitness, focusing on your health by using the same metrics that you do in your business.
I've experienced it with my mother in my life, and she passed, unfortunately, from a late stage cancer diagnosis, and the ensuing treatment and care caused a dementia onset, and it took her years to die, and it's horrible. I knew there was a better way. I knew the technology existed, and the personal guilt that I felt for not getting her care early is what propelled me to where we are today and what we're doing today.
I kept seeing 4 other problems that weren't being solved. And those are lack of purpose, health and longevity, legacy, and experiences. And what really excited me about Wealth Longevity International is we're really bringing all of the pieces together that help people accomplish all of those.
Hey, welcome to Capability Amplifier. This is Mike Koenigs. I'm here today with a very special show because we have the entire founding group of Wealth Longevity International in the room. You're going to love this episode because it deals with everything we all deal with as founders, entrepreneurs, and that is what happens when we wake up one day and realize we might have fewer days in front of us than behind us, and we're looking for ways to extend our health span and lifespan, but also deal with the loneliness of being a successful entrepreneur, which is you may have outgrown some of the people you're around, and you're looking for more exciting experiences, more connections, bigger, better, and more in-depth relationships. So we cover a lot of material in this episode. I want to start with the first question to Regan Archibald, who's been part of Strategic Coach for years. You deal with a lot of founders, a lot of entrepreneurs who've got health conditions or they don't have health conditions, but I want you to talk about what is it you see over and over again?
I see entrepreneurs who have pushed themselves for usually decades, it's 2-3 decades in, and they've done it at the expense of their health. And so Wealth Longevity International is a great place where they can come and they can start confronting the issues that they've denied for so long. So a lot of entrepreneurs are very unhealthy out there, and we decided that there's no reason for that. In our free zone collaboration with Dan Sullivan, one of the evenings he came up to me and he said, Regan, I want you to create a tool called Fitness 50 at age 100. And I said, what does that mean, Dan? I don't get it. Fitness 50 at what? And he's like, at age 100, what would a healthy 100-year-old be able to do that a fit 50-year-old could do? And so we went about and created 11 strategies and basically diagnostic tools so that we can start helping entrepreneurs have some fitness goals. Instead of focusing on all business metrics, it's like, why don't you start reversing that and focusing on your fitness, focusing on your health by using the same metrics that you do in your business? And one of my clients has just recently lost almost 40 pounds. And he was someone in his early 40s. He was burned out. When I read his labs, I mean, he was a walking heart attack. And once we had the right numbers in front of us and we said, you know what, you have 2 choices here. And the next 10 years could probably be your last 10 years, or they could be your healthiest 10 years. But the only way you can make them your healthiest 10 years is if you put the strategies in place that are going to move the needle on your health the same way you did with your business. And he's done that, and it's incredible. And I saw him at the clinic just about 2 weeks ago. He took his shirt off, and he looked like you did when I saw you, shortly after we started working together, about three months after Mike and I started working together. He's taking his shirt off on stage. So apparently I'm the what do we call that?
There's a comedian who does that. I don't remember his name, but I don't want to look like him. But exactly.
Didn't want to call it a panty dropper, but I'm like a shirt puller upper.
Shirt puller upper.
Yeah. So if you want to be able to pull up your shirt on stage, then this is the group to.
I think we'll call it abs after 50.
Abs after 50.
I like it. A little bit of a hook.
There's the tagline.
All right, good. Well, this leads me to a question for you, Steve. And I'm going to set this up for all of us because it was one of the first Wealth Longevity International events that we did. We brought in 18 founders and they all got full body scans. So Steve has this facility, well, actually multiple facilities. So we've got Dallas, Houston, Oklahoma City, soon some other places as well that are in motion. But one of the people who got scanned on the surface looked perfectly healthy and went in for his full body scan, found a brain aneurysm. Another person, 32 years old, had a big chunk of calcium in his heart, also known as right about to be the widowmaker. Same thing that killed his grandfather and father at 49. And then there were 3 or 4 people who had significant blood issues that the two of you found. And that's like day one. But why don't you talk a little bit about what you see in your work and, both the best part of it and really the saddest part?
Great question, Mike. The thing that you described is what we call threat detection. And after doing this for almost a decade, well, over a decade now, we're in our 12th year, time flies, and scanning over 150,000 people, we realized that we're the front line to finding illness, especially the top 2 killers, heart disease and cancer, at early stages. Because if you find it early, you can get help early. And that's really the key. And it's the same with our wealth experts who are in the room with us today. Brian and Brittany, they have a threat detection process that you may have lots of vehicles in place, but you need to protect your money and your health. And for the most part, people don't do that. And our technologies allow us to scan and look inside your body. And there's very few technologies that can tell you what we see physically when we look inside there.
Well, speaking of that, let's just go through the tech stack that you have and how you're using AI to look at that data, because I think it's worth mentioning that you've got the best, newest, cutting edge tech plus super experienced teams. You can do more scans than almost any facility, for sure in the United States. I don't know about worldwide, in a day, because you've got so much experience. But when someone comes in for the full treatment, the full scan, what are all the things they get to do?
So let's start with the doctors. And you mentioned our board certified radiologist, Dr. Sparks, Anthony Sparks. All he's ever done are reads on large area scans like a body scan. And the main difference there and why this is important, think about our sick care system. If you have an injury, you go to your doctor and he orders a scan. Let's say it's your shoulder. Well, that scan is going to be of a very small area, very specific, and the radiologist is going to only look at that area. So he's looking for what this doctor thinks may be an injury that's associated with your pain. When we do a scan, we go from the top of your head to your groin. So the doctor is trained, Dr. Sparks looks at this area for the smallest of findings that aren't normal. And from there, then we can do a deeper dive and try to determine what that is. But we start with your head with a brain MRI. The MRI looks at the brain matter, the volumetrics of your brain, and the MRA takes away that brain matter and looks at only the vessel structures from basically your circle of Willis to the top of your brain. That is looking for previous signs of stroke, aneurysms or tumors and such as that. But it also can give you early detection of dementia. And as we all know, that's a long-term disease that's very difficult. I've experienced it with my mother in my life, and she passed, unfortunately, from a late-stage cancer diagnosis. And the ensuing treatment and care caused a dementia onset, and it took her years to die, and it's horrible. It's what drove me to be in this business. I knew there was a better way. I knew the technology existed, and the personal guilt that I felt for not getting her care early is what propelled me to where we are today and what we're doing today. So from the scan of the brain, we do carotid and thyroid ultrasound. We're looking again for blockage in the vessels from the brain to the heart. And we're also looking for nodules or problems in the thyroid. We had a guy, he just did a testimonial last week right before we came here. He's 37 years old, perfect health, goes to Oklahoma State University, young family. He had won this, it was a donation we had done. He got a scan. We did his thyroid, found a tiny nodule. Dr. Sparks recommended to get a follow-up, and he spent 2 weeks at MD Anderson having surgery for a cancerous node we found on a 37-year-old thyroid. So you just don't know. The percentages are so crazy. 8 out of 10 people will have some finding above the age of 40. Now, it's not always deadly at the moment, but if you don't address it now, it's going to be sometime, your lifespan is going to be much shorter if you don't address that. And that's what we're all here to talk about today is lifespan. Then the third piece is, of course, the body scan, where we scan using the latest CT technology and software. And we're looking at all your organs in your body, all of the vessels, and mainly for cancer and heart disease, the number 1 and 2 killers of all Americans today.
Right on. Well, it's, I know everyone here knows the story, but it's now 11 years ago I was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. If I would have had access to this technology, it never would have happened. And I didn't know it until I was bleeding out my rear end. And when they went in, I was weeks, months max from going stage 4. And it was a very unpleasant experience. And we all have people in our lives who've gone through some sort of horrible health situation. You work your butt off as a founder, as an owner, you get to the finish line. In this case, like my neighbors I was telling you about, they were talking about going to Spain. My neighbor falls, bonks his head, finds out he's got 3 blood clots. Like, they're done. And they said, we should have done this earlier. The whole point of Wealth Longevity International is get your body, get your health in order, get your finances in order, but also create unbelievable bucket list experiences. So I want to turn this over to the financial side with Brittany and Brian. And what are the key things that you see over and over again that founders should have done that they didn't do in time, what the greatest regrets are, and talk a little bit about the technologies that you have when we put everyone together for 3 days. What's that experience like?
You know, it's interesting because there's so many statistics out there of entrepreneurs, of founders who are really great at making money and maybe not so great at the preservation of it.
That's me.
Oh, it's you, Mike. I'm like, what do you need?
Good at making lots of money. You wouldn't believe how many stupid things I've done, right? Yeah, 11 VC deals that have gone on longer than 10 years. And that's common. I talk to people. It's like, man. And Brian and I were talking about that very same thing. It's like the stuff that made the biggest difference for his wealth creation has been doing the same thing over and again that seems boring, but it starts with the threat detection. Sorry to interrupt, but I mean, like, that really resonates with me.
Yeah, no. So what we do is, when you think about the threat detection model, we're looking for gaps, we're looking for holes, but we're also looking for opportunities. Regan, in one of our last events, WLI events that we did down in Dallas at Steve's clinic, he was bringing up the topic of death by neglect. Well, that applies to your health, but it also applies to your wealth. Because when you get on that hamster wheel and you're constantly working and you're shooting for these big goals, these big targets, we're not always thinking about what we need to do to plan for that biggest and best future that's ahead of us. So that's a lot of the tools that we're putting in place and bringing to the table is helping you identify opportunities for massive growth and looking at not what you came from, but what you're going to.
Yeah, and I would add to that, having been in the wealth management business for, 44 years, one of the things that has just jumped out at me was, irregardless of the amount of wealth that a client had, I kept seeing 4 other problems that weren't being solved. And those are lack of purpose, health and longevity, legacy, and experiences. Mm-hmm. And what really excited me about Wealth Longevity International is we're really bringing all of the pieces together that help people accomplish all of those. So I wanted a resource and a platform where I could help people solve problems that I continually saw that weren't being met. And this is really that platform, and I'm just so excited to be part of it.
Yeah.
So one thing here, I'd like to say, part of the things that you do that most people take for granted is those threats to our money or our well-being and as far as wealth can be very close to you. I'm personally have experienced that in my business, but I have friends that have suffered millions of dollars of loss by very confident people in their confidence inside their organization. And the abilities you have and the technologies you guys have in place, and it's not just close to you, it can be anywhere, because as you said, we're on that hamster wheel, we're running, we don't see those things. And the way your structure is built it is that threat detection and keeps us aware of these problems before, or early detection of these problems before they become very expensive.
Yeah, well said.
It's something that a business owner needs to know quickly.
Yeah, and I also see it as when you look at it from a health perspective, one of the biggest predictors is when people have financial stress. And so even entrepreneurs like you, Mike, I mean, you shared your experience with, your cancer. A lot of it's chasing cash flow when there's things that we do as
lifestyle
entrepreneurs.
gave me a disease.
Yeah, the lifestyle.
That's the deal. It's like the thing I'm trying to race to the top, and racing a little too fast could have cost me my life.
I've never seen you run super fast or do more things than
Slow runner.
Slow runner. Yeah, exactly. Mike, we have to put anchors on him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Just slow down.
So, speaking of that, we do all attend and intake a lot of information from great speakers. And one of the common things I hear, which you just said, is oxidative stress. And that's created by environment. And of course, financial is one of the top causes of oxidative stress in our body, and it wrecks our immune system, and it is the precursor to almost all diseases.
Yeah. And chasing it and not having it, it's like it's
double-edged sword there.
Yeah.
And most business owners, unfortunately, just because they're so wrapped up in the day-to-day and the grind, just aren't aware. They don't know what they don't know. And once they're made aware of things like this and how these things can actually help their business and improve their, elimination of the threats. It's just like almost life-changing in lots of, capabilities. And, we had an event that we took 18 of our clients to the clinic and had Regan and Steve do their magic. And I mean, just, several things that happen with those particular clients. I mean, literally, we save clients' lives. And so, what's that worth?
Mm-hmm. And they're asymptomatic. That's the crazy thing.
No one knew about them. Yeah.
They have no symptoms.
Yep. Well, I want to turn this to Cade, because Cade manages Regan's business operationally, but you also get to see the effects. So I want you to describe your observation of what's been happening with Wealth Longevity International and what makes it unique when you're putting all of these things together, and how you see it affect the patients and really our friends, because everyone who comes through, we build deep, meaningful relationships. This isn't just another business mastermind group. This is a family that's created.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so cool about this group is we have so many different aspects and people from different industries coming together, creating just long-lasting relationships. Some of the results that we're able to get for people from a health perspective, from a wealth perspective, is just really exciting to see. And so we're seeing, one of our mantras is we want to make the next 10 years your best 10 years. Mm-hmm. And we've just seen that so much with our with some of our patients, our clients that are coming into this, is they're more motivated, excited, and inspired to make the next part of their life the best part of their life. And so it's like that best life waits in the future.
i.e. our tagline.
Yeah.
Good job.
Totally
There
job.
it is. Nailed it. And there's the African proverb that maybe it was Vivian that shared this with me, but she said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think the majority of people that come into the rooms with us, now we've done a handful of these retreats and these events. But what we find is now people, they've gone really, they've gone fast. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of, we go alone. And now it's like, hey, why don't we just pause a minute? And what if you went together? And I can tell you, it's really, really amazing, the transformation that happens. Yeah, because just belonging to that group, that energy that comes from it, you're going to have lifelong relationships. And even if Steve offends you with one of his jokes, I mean, or Mike, I mean, not that Mike would ever do that.
I'd never say anything terrible.
Yeah, but we it's fun, but it also is some of the most rewarding experiences I've had in my 20 years of practice is actually being with a group of like-minded humans.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Well, I've got two forks I want to go down. One of them is I want to just talk about partnerships and what the experience is like. But first, I want to give credit where credit's due. The reason why we all came together here is we are the product of some people that we follow who are become good friends and actually the namesake of this podcast, for example, Dan Sullivan. So we met originally through Joe Polish and Genius Network, and then that extended into the Dan Sullivan relationship and strategic coach. And Dan has this idea called a free zone. And the idea of, which sounds crazy at first until you think about it, and you're like, God, that's a genius idea. So his vision, he's 79 years old, is on his 100th birthday to celebrate a $15 trillion economy inside Strategic Coach by creating non-competitive collaborations amongst all of us. So, in your case, you had a wealth management company. You got health and longevity. Steve's got early detection, and prevention. And I've been doing advising, consulting, building and growing businesses for a long time. And I wanted to collaborate. First of all, selfishly speaking, I want to extend my health. And as soon as I started working with Regan, boom, immediate results. I've done everything: peptides, stem cells, blood work that I do quarterly, hormone treatments. When I went to Steve's, I did some deep scanning and learned a lot about my body I didn't know. And now my son's going through the programs. My wife, who has been pain-free because of working with you now. And in 22 years, there was always something hurting, okay? We were out for dinner last night with Chris Hendrickson. I can mention his name here. And he was just raving about the fact that he's pain-free for the first time in 20 years in his shoulder.
Yeah, that was
and the
great.
list goes, on. So all of us have not only affected people's health, had early detection experiences, but we're collaborating together. And there's nothing more magical than putting high value people in a room where you feel as though you're finally with the family you choose, not the family you're born with. And you create these lifelong relationships and profitable collaborations. And now we're all investing in this property, for example, in Mexico. We're participating and extending our personal and business lives. And some people say, well, I don't want to mix that, but it's fun to mix it. You reach a certain point where what engages you most is creating together. So I want you, any of you, just to comment on the free zone concept, how it's changed your vision of how business works and what your experience has been as partners in this whole thing.
I can start. I'll start on that one,
Yeah.
Mike. So, Brian has been a lifer at Strategic Coach. And, when I think about our vision for our company, for example, so we've got a 5-pillar approach to our wealth management model. Wealth management obviously being the core pillar, but we're trying to extend to health and longevity, go deeper with purpose, go further with legacy, and really create unique experiences. Well, rather than us trying to figure it out internally, by using the free zone approach and by following Dan's methods, we've been put in a room with the amazing people at this table who literally fill the gap in every single one of those pillars. And if they can't complete it, they know somebody who can. So that's really, I think, the biggest differentiator for us is it's helped us think different. It's helped us level up at how we're serving our clients and our customers and our future clients and customers, and just really expanded our thinking.
Yeah. And I would just say that the free zone concept just helps you also take that who, not how concept. So we had these other 4 pillars that we saw problems with. And the free zone, I met all of these great people around the table, and there are who's. And now we are able to deliver this amazing dream architect life concept for our clients within the Wealth Longevity International platform.
Yeah.
It's really cool how you can just tie into someone else's capability. We have a little bit of capacity on helping out with the wealth side. You guys, or the health side, you guys have the wealth side, and we can come together. It's a really fun collaboration, but even just the free zone itself is such a cool experience.
Well, the best free zone happened when Brian and I met in the bathroom, and we just said, hey, we should probably collaborate. This is free zone. And
Hey, I don't know.
Let's leave out the second half of that story.
We'll leave the details on that.
Can I tell a joke now?
yeah, let's hear it, Steve. Come on.
My dude's in the bathroom. This isn't going anywhere good.
I'm not touching that one.
Okay, yeah.
I think the key for me in this adventure has been the connection with not only it seems like we just bonded immediately. First time we met, it was like somebody's planned this and this is supposed to happen. Yeah. But what really touched my heart was the outpouring of the groups that we've brought in and the connection there, because when we do our regular, normal day-to-day scans, we don't get that opportunity to really connect. And, it's pretty fast paced and there's a lot of people, a lot of things going on at once. And so the time is not there. These events, the connection that I see, not only between us and the participants, but the participants themselves are collaborating and discussing and telling friends about what they've done and how connected we are.
And we got some of them that take vacations together.
Yes,
now,
and then the frivolity at nights,
event,
when we go out and eat, and it's just such a different atmosphere. So I feel especially touched with that, because I don't get to do that in my day-to-day activities in most cases. So I've really enjoyed heartfelt times with the people that come to our events.
Yeah, and what I've seen too is, because we basically just have everyone get rid of everything they enjoy in their life. So we're like, no
I wanted
sugar,
to talk to you about
get rid
that,
of the
Regan.
booze.
What's the use of
No
living?
fried food.
Yeah.
I bring the bad news. I'm like, okay, so you have really aggressive longevity goals. Well, here's how you can get there. But it's nice when you're suffering, not alone. So, but it makes it easier when you see what your friends are doing, your colleagues. And so, the group that you guys brought together, Brittany and Brian, were just amazing. And so they're like, well, I talked to Pam and this is what she's doing. And then should I be doing that? I'm like, yes. So it's my unashamed way of making my job easier is bringing groups of people together. Yeah. Social.
It's a good motivator. And the truth of the matter is, like, we've all seen it now because we've been doing these things for over a year, where two things happen. I always say, as soon as you open up their hearts, so when someone comes to one of these experiences and they bring a spouse or a business partner or refer someone, it's not uncommon for them to go get their scans and discover something they didn't know. And it can either be good or scary, but then it can be dealt with, because Steve can get on the phone and they're in seeing a specialist that might not be accessible for 6 months in 2 days. Okay, that's miraculous. The second thing that happens is when Regan gets hold of him, and we know of an individual who came in and he's on 5 big meds, and he lost how much weight in the first 4 months?
32 pounds in the first 4 months.
Okay. So he went on some peptide treatments and got off of 4 out of 5 meds and dropped a major one that he had been on for a significant disease, actually, to about a 1/3 dose. And if you see what he looks like, and also he's been to his tailor 6 times in the past 6 months.
He sent me the screenshot of his tailor bill, and I was like, that's got to be the best money you've ever spent. Yeah. And he's like, absolutely, I'm so glad.
I mean, he looks like a completely different person, but he's so proud and happy. And people are like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah. And it's so much easier in a community. So when you open up their hearts with longevity, life extension, and detection, the next thing that happens is the wallets follow. And what I mean by that is, I know in one of the first groups like this I did, there were a couple of people who had known each other for years, but they did a $500 million transaction together. And this isn't about the money, but the money always happens and follows when you have a well-curated, high-value group with shared common values. And that old saying, it's lonely at the top, I didn't fully understand that until recently, because when you're busy and you're driven, and suddenly you realize that the reason why you feel stuck is because you've outgrown the people around you, and you don't want to say goodbye to 20 and 30 or 40-year-old relationships, but they're stuck, and that's not your problem. And it's so refreshing. So I want you to talk about any observations you've had about the community that seems to pop up as well.
I was going to say one thing. There is one negative to working with Dr. Archibald and his brother, Cade, is that you're going to buy a lot of new clothes when you get on the program. So you're going to have...
But you can get the latest fashion.
That's right. You're going to be up to date because you're going to be buying a lot of new clothes.
Wardrobe there.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a fabulous hook we got to drop in here.
So we'll rein this ADHD back in.
Oh, yeah. Bring it back. Thank you for that.
I think about, in the second event that we did, we brought in a team of advisors. And the whole premise of this being that, introducing this whole WLI concept to them so they can in turn bring it to their best clients and their best prospects. Well, what we saw happen was, I think about one gentleman in particular, he was kind of burnt out on his business. He created a ton of success. He was more than financially in a great position. And it was like a new human being was born right there in the Dallas clinic. As I think, Regan, you were presenting, his whole life just lit up when he saw the possibility behind this, not just for himself, but for the people that he can in turn impact. So when you talked, Mike, about that loneliness at the top, he's in an area like Brian and I, a little secluded. We're in rural Minnesota. There's not a ton of people around. He's also in the upper Midwest, this gentleman in particular, and he literally has been chomping at the bit on when the next event is. He cannot wait to get back in front of it. He can't wait to meet Mike and all of your AI brilliance. It's like he's a new human being. So I think that's what we're seeing repetitively happen there.
Yeah. And I will take one other thing on that, but it's one of the fascinating things and why we wanted to get financial advisors to come to this is, and this would apply to literally any other industry, is that if you want to, differentiate yourself and give a big wow to your best clients or people that you'd like to meet to become your best clients, this kind of an experience could be something that you could share with your best clients and prospects and make you look so different and so appealing. And so that's one of the things that having some financial advisors there, they're going, wow, could I bring clients? And absolutely, but they had to experience it to understand it.
That's right.
And that was the critical thing.
That might be, I'll drop in because I was mentioning that there was something I realized yesterday because we were at we were at the Torrey Pines golf course at the club yesterday. And I said something, I thought it was to you, Steve, I'm not sure, which is, I want to go to the club and say, I have the best customer retention program ever for you, because once you have a customer, keeping them is the most important, but keeping them alive and keeping them healthy, okay? Because they're not going to be there if they're not alive and healthy. So if you want the very best, this is a shameless plug. If you have a business and you genuinely care about and like your customers, the best thing you can do is help them extend their health span, extend their lifespan, and create an intimate experience that is absolutely world-class and unique. So what if you could bring them to an experience where they're going to meet people who genuinely feel like family to them, because that's what we all have in common. It's our value system. It's our mindsets that got us to where we are, and then extended their life, first of all, by early detection, give them a way to extend their health, and then get them to think about their wealth in different ways. And then in our case, what we do is we'll do a whole segment on AI, cutting edge technologies, way to grow your business and to grow your brand or your personal brand, but then plan your safe exit, because exit strategy, exit planning is also part of this. And we bring in really interesting speakers, but we do this in fascinating places. So I can't mention this name specifically, but let's imagine one of the biggest space agencies in the world that you could go for an exclusive tour and an experience there, like a true bucket list experience. Or we've done some at Wizard Academy in Austin, Texas.
I love Roy Williams.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what a fascinating place. Oh my.
Mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing.
You might add, Mike.
Yeah, so that's the whole point. It's retention.
Well, and
for
we
your
have a
existing
full
business.
staff. So you're talking about the event itself.
Yeah.
We have coordinators and the setters and people that find the best deals on hotels, and we have. It's kind. I hate the word, one in a box, but it's literally a service that you don't have to do anything but
you show up and everything else
Bring
is
in your
taken
best,
care of.
20 best customers, and we will make them want to stay with you longer. They'll like you more. They'll spend more money with you for longer, and they just might meet their next best friend for the rest of their lives. And that's really what this is all about. Plus, we get to create together. Yeah.
Well, and the thing that we do is for the founders, we make them look really good because Now we talk them up, and you
They
have
get
a
the
chance
credit.
to showcase your brand new thing, whatever that may be. And it's a fun experience. Like when we did an event back in February, Mike, and you showed the group the AI, and you had Dr. Wright on there as the teddy bear.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Care Bear.
Care Bear. Oh,
Yeah, we
Care
turned him
Bear.
into a Care Bear.
Yeah, I mean, the audience was just so
He hasn't
captivated.
forgave you yet either.
Yeah, we're pulling people in to get their medical services, and then they didn't want to leave because they're learning all this great AI stuff. And so these events are very hands-on. It's not like it's a lecture based. It's actually a doing, because Mike's mantra is no homework, and I think all of us love that.
Yes.
And so our goal is to do more in 3 days for someone's health, their wealth, their business ideas, and their connections than they would do in 3 years.
Great point. And we go to a lot of these events, and you get to see fabulous people speak, but you don't have access to them, really access directly to them. When you come here, you got one of the premier biologics guys in the room. You sit down and consult with him for as long as you want. I've seen you spend hours with guys. We have interventional cardiovascular guys. They're at the event that will spend hours. Dr. Sparks, the radiologist, will go over every detail in your scan. And you just can't get that access. Access is the key.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It's amazing. I mean, having been doing Mayo executive physicals for 15 years, having gone through both of your processes, it was like mind expanding how much more detailed and the number of things that you check that, you would think the Mayo executive physical would be the be all end all.
You said Mayo. Is this where I insert mustard?
Mustard. This is mustard part. But it was just like eye-opening to me what else is out there that you could have access to that I wasn't aware of until,
Well,
you
the latest
introduced us,
cutting
Mike.
edge biohacking tools, tools for looking in like Steve's arsenal. Just because he's been in this business, he's got access to the latest cutting edge. All the vendors know him, like him, trust him, and they're going to give him first access. Plus being able to look at the data with AI, for example, okay? That is important, that you've got the best technology on your side and the best team on your side. And then again, when it's a fun environment with fun people. What were you going to say?
Well, if you look at the healthcare system, when I graduated, our academic dean said, hey, medicine's 25 years behind the research. Don't get caught in that trap. The new data is showing that medicine is closer to 100 years behind the research now because research is accelerated. So what Steve offers is the latest access. The Mayo Clinic can't keep up with the innovations. Great thing about what we offer as well is everyone who comes, I'm constantly studying this stuff. I'm talking to scientists. You guys saw me interacting with one yesterday. And it's fun. And then we can bring this right to your audience immediately so they get access. Not only that, but on the business side, how many business systems are antiquated? They're not using AI. You think of the wealth industry, how many wealth advisors are way behind, and now you've got your 5 pillars with the Dream Architect. That's just a game changer. I mean,
And I think the other thing that maybe just to spend a minute on is what Mike's bringing, which is AI. I mean, we're in like the top of the first inning of a 9-inning ball game with that, and just having Mike share a bunch of things just the couple of days we've been here, just mind expanding. So that will, in and of itself, be well worth the time. But the other thing that I think has been a big gap is bringing in world experts on exit planning and how to grow your business and make it more fun but more profitable. Because in my 44 years, one of the big things that I've seen is when people go to exit, they truly don't know what the value of their business is. And they've had a lifetime of work, and they end up selling it for a lot less than they should because they just don't know who and the questions to ask or how would I set it up to maximize. And we'll be bringing in world experts on all of those factors so that, when you do decide to do something different or, going from something to something new, that what you've worked your tail off for, you get compensated for.
It's really solid.
I want to bring it back on the health side here. So you said a word, antiquated. most people have that today do some type of prevention, even though it's rare that it's in a business environment for employees. But if you think about what's the standard physical that people get?
They get 30, 40 markers if it's a good test.
Well, even if they do a physical, they get a cold piece of metal on their chest and cough.
They get their lungs.
They pop them on the knee, and you know when that came out in 1902.
Right.
That's a 120-year-old exam. They're still using it today.
Same thing. Yeah.
This is not what we do. We're on the front edge of technology here. So even if you see a doctor, don't stop. We're not saying stop seeing your doctor by any means. Matter of fact, we send all your data to your doctor. But there are faster and easier ways to get more data, and a lot of data. We produce about 1.5 gig of data from your body, inside and outside.
And I think too, to make it relevant to basically any industry, when you think about antiquated processes, I'll take wealth management, for example. There's plenty of wealth advisors out there who tout a specific system that they use, or it's the family office approach. And what we're finding is when you lean forward into the future, it's simply not enough. People are smart, especially people that have accumulated a certain level of wealth and experiences and packed that all into one. They're looking for more. So when you think about Wealth Longevity International, we're seeing this as an opportunity for true differentiation for every single one of us in this room.
I'll point this because someone who was at one of our events said, if you'd imagine you'd have billion-dollar healthcare. This is what billionaires use. Okay, it's the scanning and the in-depth resources and that level of concierge care, where you are getting very detailed. Like when you look at the blood panels alone, there's a minimum of 4 times more data on that report than you could do from your standard doctor. Okay, so that is sort of like saying, I'm going to diagnose your car with looking through Coke bottles. Bad idea, versus something that's using all the latest, like whatever kind of visualization tools that could be out there. And then the same is happening with money and your threat detection. And then imagine sitting down, in our case, with the very, very latest business technology and speakers resources. And this is a full panel. We're collating and curating the best in the world at what they do. And we also want to get the best in the world at what they do. So I wanted to ask Cade this, because what I want to just describe the experience. So think of it through 2 lenses. Let's say you're a founder with an audience and you want to reactivate your customer base, get them re-excited and put them together. And then over on this side, let's say, we'll talk a little bit about what the experience is. And I kind of want this to be a little rapid fire, what you've observed and known, so someone knows what they're in for. Because a huge part of where you guys start is, sending, this is the boring part, send your phlebotomist, ask some questions, get some detailed reports. But let's kind of go round robin through what that experience is like when they're there.
Yeah, so we'll typically run some blood panels before the attendees ever even come. And so that can be really impactful, especially when we work with collaborators. It's a huge value add. So you're ultimately, you're allowing them to have access to this amazing, really comprehensive longevity blood testing. And then from there, we'll typically even review that before they come to the event. So they have a little more context and a little more preparation. Yeah. And then when they're at the event, we're training, like you're actually learning how to look at your own labs and understand it and have a better action plan to actually take charge of your own health rather than relying on someone else. Yep. As well as, we handle a lot of that for them as well, but yeah, that's awesome.
And knowing exactly what to do. So when they meet with Regan or some other people on the team, I've had a few people say that first 2 hours was worth the 3 days we were together because I learned so much. I've never seen this much. And now I know exactly why I feel this way. You and sometimes it's the first time in 20 years they've actually identified what the cause is because doctors weren't doing in-depth tests. How about anyone else? This is like a rapid fire. What's the experience like?
Well, I believe when health improves, everything improves. And then if you just say, well, what creates health in somebody's life? Well, wealth is part of it. peace of mind, doing advanced diagnostics. Like there's nothing better than someone says, I'm so glad I did that scan because things are way better than I thought. And we do see that occasionally too, which is a relief. Because I'm like, you look like a train wreck on your blood. So
the best thing that can happen from that scan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, everything's good. Not napping all that often, but yeah, but there's always something.
But what we see is, people start and they're a little more reserved and they're kind of like, oh, this is kind of stuffy, this healthcare talk, and they feel a little intimidated because it's new terminology. But we just try to get real grounded with them because, I'm just a redneck from Idaho and I just like to have fun and I like to simplify complex topics. And then when
rednecks in Idaho, come on now.
What about Oklahoma?
Yeah, hey, we invented it. Are you kidding me?
But and then you see, Brittany talk about wealth and Brian, and that lights people up because it gives them new insights. And then Mike's obviously a crowd pleaser. He'll keep people just completely captivated with AI. So what you get is you get some great education, you get awesome entertainment, but then you get this whole level of 5-star experience where everything's thought out, the food, the hotels, every place that we have it, and then all the details like Cade mentioned. We want to make sure that we've got relationships created before someone shows up. So they've already got a friend, whatever, if it's myself or one of our other doctors that meets with these clients, they're going to already have
great
this
point.
new relationship.
It's a comfort level before they show up. That's a great point because it is stressful going to a facility, especially a medical facility.
And one of the things that both Mike and I have done that I think gave clients some confidence is we actually used our own scans. So when we had our audience, we were looking at our body and brain scans and pointing out what went right and what went wrong.
We don't mind being guinea pigs.
And we don't mind being guinea pigs. But
that creates a new conversation and so much engagement because it's like, oh, look at this. And full disclosure, we acknowledge that we're giving up our HIPAA rights on the fly. I'm like, I acknowledge the fact I signed some paperwork saying I am a guinea pig.
You rarely wears clothes anyways. First time I've seen you in clothes since we've been here.
You don't know that. I'm not wearing pants today. That's important to note. Okay.
But what it also does is they know what to expect when Dr. Sparks reads the reports for them.
Absolutely.
Because they've seen them and they pointed out things. And so it's not a surprise and it gets them excited to go, oh, I'll learn all that. So I think that eliminates a little of the uncertainty of what to expect by seeing actual results.
Well, my takeaway or my rapid fire would be early detection not only preserves your wealth, but it can save your life. That's the key.
Yeah.
And it's solution focused. If we really want to boil it down, the whole entire experience is solution focused. So you can go and get results, anytime in any aspect of your life, but to actually take it and have a solve for it, that's what's different. And that's what people are experiencing. Yeah.
We are outcome driven and outcome focused, and we guarantee that is a huge part. I'm glad you brought that one up. Yeah. All right. Anything else before we have a whole bunch of great tools, resources we're giving away. I'm going to rattle them off, but we can talk about each one. Anything else on that one?
How should they get a hold of us, Mike?
Okay,
I just wanted to touch on the relationship component of this. It's so fun to go to those events and we'll have some of the biohacking things going on and attendees are talking with each other. They're developing relationships, creating new collaborations, partnerships. It's just a really, really cool vibe when you go and experience this. So you get all the tactics, all the solutions for your health, but also you get to create some really good, long-lasting relationships and friends.
These are frameworks you bring into your family, you bring into your business, you bring into your personal life. I would say you learn a new vocabulary, a better vocabulary for enhancing every relationship that you have. I think you become a better communicator. And I would like to just, again, shamelessly plug the fact that the mindsets that we have in common, because the work we've done at Strategic Coach, for example, with Dan Sullivan.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
We've learned a huge new way of thinking and communicating. And the same is true in the world of Joe Polish and Genius Network. If you have ever been part of these groups, you'll really love the mindsets because it's an extension of those groups. It feels like the family you've always wanted, but maybe couldn't find. And you can't underestimate the depth of how these relationships matter.
Yeah, I would tell you, just once your mindset changes or you're exposed to this type of mindset, your world changes.
And by the way,
never
Dan
go
said
back.
you're welcome, Brian. He really is
talking to
everywhere.
him right now.
He's
Good
really
job.
everywhere.
He's everywhere. Well,
Hi, Dan.
okay, last biggie here, and that is we've got some great bonuses. So I'm going to tell you what they are, but after I do the round robin, I want you to describe, because all of us are giving away some really great tools. So you can head on over to learn more about this and think of it down two paths. One of them is if you want to experience this as a attendee, where you'd get the scans, you'd get access to the resources, you'd learn together, and be with some remarkable people. We really do an amazing job of curation. That's at wli.live/free. And you're going to get Regan's Fitness 50 benchmarks. He'll tell you about what those are in a moment. You'll get the latest copy of my book, Your Next Act. And it's all about creating a business you'll love for the rest of your life. One of the things I love doing is creating and recreating businesses. And also some of our latest AI training tools. So if you want to bring AI into your life or your business, you get a directory and a training video. We have the Dream Architecture book and video, Peptide Blueprint, and Advanced Longevity, the 30-30-30 approach, which is yours. Rapid fire, what are each one of these? Why are they important? And they're totally free, by the way, whether you play with us or not. And you also learn more about becoming a partner if you want to bring your clients, customers, engage them, re-engage them, and help them see a bigger, better 10x future for themselves as well.
Yeah.
So
Dream Architecture, our book, it's really about where money and mindset meet. And one thing that I want to point out that we haven't touched on yet is that this whole WLI concept, it is application based. You can't just come in just because you have the money.
just
to
because
attend.
you can stroke a check doesn't mean you get it in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well
So
said.
our book is really the foundation of this, and it's making sure that your mindset's in the right place, that your heart's in the right place, and you're coming into it from a place of servitude. So that's
Yeah.
really the point of the book, and that's
This ain't about getting, it's about being able to give and having that mindset. Good
yes.
job.
Yep.
Yeah. And I would just say a little bit more in the book is we wrote another book together called Dare to Dream about our Dream Architect process. And then we realized that the Dream Architecture book should have been first, because if you don't have the right mindset about money, then you're going to have a lot of other issues that you have to deal with. So that's the framework for why the book was written.
Tools.
Yeah.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, so the Peptide Blueprint, I'll give a shameless plug for Regan. He's like a brilliant author, and he puts together some really intriguing concepts on how to optimize peptides for whatever your health goal is. So it can optimize energy, weight loss, muscle mass, and just like living a really healthy, fulfilled life. And so it's really intriguing. What else you got there, Regan?
Well, and thanks for that. I appreciate
50,
that.
yeah.
Are you guys
Fitness-
related?
We might be related.
He paid me to say that, actually.
I'll tell you what.
It's the older brother
It's
squeeze.
yeah,
Say something
baby brother.
nice.
I was wondering why that money was changing.
Can't wait till we get out of this room here. Yeah, this
The Fitness 50 tool is, and we also, for those of you who are under 50 and your complaints have been heard loud and clear, we have our Fitness 25 at age 50 tool. So we've ramped it up for you. But there's 11 core exercises that are diagnostic based, and just rate yourself. Are you fit, fitter, or fittest? And if you can show us your scores on the benchmarks, you'll get a free shirt from us. So
Hey,
just reach
added
out.
another.
Yeah,
So many
another
bonuses.
freebie.
Yeah, big bonus.
Because for you, if you are not knowledgeable or you're new to peptides, which have changed my life, it's an unbelievable way to become pain-free, to look better. You can help your skin, your hair, definitely your concentration, mood, and mindset. Peptides are remarkable. We have a peptide interview that I did with Regan. So between the book and the interview, we'll include that in the bonus pack as well. Steve Marler, what do you got with the 30-30-30
So
approach?
what we're doing, we're giving away for the first 50 callers, we're giving away Regan's Ferrari. So
Oh, yeah,
Oh, man.
be sure to call in.
that dude's got the biggest
where is
garage
that?
ever.
Man,
Unbelievable.
It's that Mattel.
So-
Exactly.
Yeah.
What something you just said and what you do that we don't talk enough about and it so differs from modern medicine. And I don't want to get on my soapbox about big pharma and how I feel about the sick care system, but you treat the root cause of the illness.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't going to go here, but most of medicine is built around pharmaceuticals that mask symptoms.
Diagnose the problem, prescribe a drug.
You treat the root cause. Yep. That's the difference in what we do, and why it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is, what your health history has been today till this point. If you treat the root cause, find it and treat it, you're going to get better. And that's just how this works. So in our program, the 30-30-30 is really built around the thing we talk about the most is early detection saves lives. The first 30 days, we're going to do all of our programs, all of our diagnostic testing. And these are advanced tests. And from that, we're going to accumulate this data. Our experts are going to go over every piece of it. And then we're going to consult with you about that and build a plan, which will start in we will monitor you with your help, Regan, in the next 30 months, and we will make adjustments along the ways because there's improvements and you're going to get better, and then you can change for more optimal type processes and peptides and so forth that his program allows. But then we're going to build that platform for you for the next 30 years. And that's the ultimate goal, is to have health and wealth longevity for the next 30 years and beyond. And then it reached that escape velocity, which we talk about. There is so much advancement going on in not only the technology side of healthcare, but in all the biologics. And really, it's something else we haven't discussed here today that you guys do so well is the psychology of healthcare. So if you have the best program in the world, if we dial it in the first time, if you're not committed to that or have the discipline to stick to it, it's not going to happen. So the way your program works is you convince them to stay with it because they've seen the results, and you have this innate ability, which I shouldn't brag about you so much because
my head's getting really big.
We're not dating.
What's the ass, Steve?
You're Ferrari. I already said I'm giving it away. But no, the ability to keep them on track is something we don't talk about. And that's so important because most physicians today, if you go to the doctor, do you see the doctor? No, you see a mid-level most cases. You're lucky if he sticks his head in the room and says, how you doing? I got to run down the hall. So that connection, we talked about it early on, being connected and having access is the key to what we do.
Well, and I learned it from you, Steve, is when you told me if you put a shock collar and a surveillance camera on people, they'll be compliant.
It's amazing how
I really appreciate that insight.
Really helpful tip.
And we're setting on ours. We don't have it up here.
Well, let's bring this home because I just got a signal. We have less than 5 minutes on the card. So here's what I would suggest we do, because at the end of the day, what this is about is creating meaningful collaborations, long-time collaborations. So you want to protect, first of all, you got to make sure that you can move. And so often the biggest mistake we see are you work so hard to win in the game of money and you don't win in the game of life. And you do it at that expense and you're not enjoying it while you have it, or it starts declining and you don't do something about it. And everything about your health, so there's something you can do right now, no matter where you are in the spectrum. The other one is the upgrade for every part of life is your mindset and the people you spend your time with. And you know what? It's probably time to upgrade the people in your life and who you surround yourself with, because the mindsets follow. And then and also, everyone I know who reaches a certain point of success is like experience. So what if you could have some of the greatest experiences with some really, really cool people that are upgrading every part of your income and your capabilities and the quality of your health at the same time. And there's a whole lot more that goes with that when you're in the right room with the right people. So anything else before we wrap this thing up?
So our offer basically is, we were talking about...
Head on over to WLIlive.com or WLI.live/free, or you can go to the main website. You're going to get all of our bonuses and you can register to attend one of our next events.
Perfect.
And become a vendor. So if you've got a business and you want to have an extraordinary concierge experience where we basically do everything for you and learn more about what that looks like and work with us as collaborators.
Now's the time.
Partners. Right on. And we do have a limited number of times we do this every year because we don't do this for the money. The money always follows. It's about the experiences we create with the right fit people. And that's where magic comes from.
Early detection saves lives.
Early detection saves lives.
Threat
Amen.
detection.
Threat detection.
Detection. Yep. That's the key words.
All right. Well, this has been Capability Amplifier. Thank you so much for watching and attending. We'll see you on the website. Get on over to WLLive.com right now. And thanks again to Dan Sullivan, Strategic Coach, Joe Polish, Genius Network, and all the other groups we belong to.
What's that website again?
That's right.
What's that?
WLI.live.